Hello there. Good morning to you, good afternoon to you, good evening to you from wherever you are watching from. And this is Maiyegun Live.
Lórí Facebook, lórí YouTube. Gbogbo bó ṣe ń lọ ni Maiyegun já wa sí. Àṣírí ọ̀jẹ̀lú kì í kó níbẹ̀ o.
Thank you so much for joining me. Please let me know if the audio is fine. We are going to review the report of the NSAS judicial panel for Lagos State, the one that has now got everyone talking, pretty much confirming everything that we've told you, everything you know, that Nigeria and their agents have done so much in the last 1 year to begin to make you feel like, wait, what's going on? Am I blind, or what I saw? Did I not see what I saw anymore? That's all of that has now come to an end. The bubble has now busted. Share the broadcast, invite your friend. I uploaded some video earlier today just to remind many of us of what really happened on the night of the 20th of October 2020 last year. And within an hour, Facebook pulled out. So if you are not able to comment or able to share the video on Facebook, I'm so surprised that they could even allow me to go live right there, right now, okay? But join me on YouTube if you are having difficulty contributing on Facebook, okay? But I believe that should be lifted by tomorrow. It's part of the whole thing. The whole thing, they've done so well to bury what happened that night. But they can't really bury the truth. So today, the judicial panel set up by the Lagos State government came out to confirm that indeed 14 people were killed at Lekki toll gate because, I'll tell you more. After the soldiers came and killed protesters, they took their bodies away. The police came after that. They killed some leftover protesters, took their bodies away. And they dump all these bodies at different mortuaries in Lagos. No identity. People of no identity. That's what they recorded them as. Those who sustained bullet injuries, the following day, the Lagos State government, through their LOMA, Lagos State Waste Management Agency, Abina Authority, they moved to Lekki toll gate. Meanwhile, before the LOMA got there, when the police came and they shot and killed people, they started picking up all the bullet shells, clearing the area, taking away the evidence. The following morning, the LOMA, they moved in to sweep the entire area of all the blood, all the spilled blood, everything, bullets, all of that. They cleared the entire area. Yeah? And then they turned around and denied it in order to bury evidence and scare those who are the victims away and their families. When the Nigerian soldiers, when the news broke, there are some people who are still in some local hospital in the area. The Nigerian military started going from one hospital to another, looking for those who are the protesters from Lekki, gunshot wound and all of that. So many people who heard this, they had to hurriedly move their family member, move their relative out of those locations and never to come out. Some of them said they will never come out to tell their story because they still suspect that people are following them, strange people are following them. Because once in a while, they receive threat phone calls from strange numbers, strange people, and all of this contributed to the reduced number of evidence, witnesses, including the families of those they killed, and those they killed and took their bodies away that their family members have declared missing. The panel report detailed all of that. But you remember when this first started, it was Sanwo-Olu. You remember that was when we coined the name Sanwo-Iku. It was Sanwo-Olu that called the military. But it wasn't just Sanwo-Olu that just called the military. When the protest started, it was so organized that you couldn't use religion, you couldn't use tribe, you could not use class, you could not use age, you could not use politics or anything at all to divide the protesters. And it was spreading. It was like a replica, a better version of their protest in 2012, the subsidy protest. And it was happening in Lagos. So, in Abuja, the impression then was that the Tifnumbu and gang were those behind NSAS protest. And in fact, the intention was to overthrow Bukwari, to prove to them that they have no hand in the NSAS protest. The godfather, Tifnumbu himself, had to command at the pointer, Governor Pointer and kill Sanwo-Iku, to declare curfew. When you know that in Lagos, if you go to your work and you get back home at 10 p.m., you are so lucky. People will be like, ah, man, today was better. I came home early. Sanwo-Iku declared curfew that people should be back to their houses by 4 p.m. at 12 noon. That was how much the pressure to impress them in Abuja. Because conditions they gave to them was, if you are not the people behind them, yeah, then we want you to prove it. How would they prove it? Because they said, we are sending soldiers, whether you want it or not. But if you are not the ones financing NSAS protests because of your presidential ambition, blah, 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 blah. That was how Sanwo-Iku had to come out on the TV, calling Lagosians to go back home before 4 p.m. because of NSAS, and people should vacate the toll gates. By then, meanwhile, before then, the panel also established that since the protest started from the 2nd of October, that Nigeria police, they have been issuing more arms, more rifles, more ammunitions to their policemen, and they have been issuing out more patrols. For example, they said that before the protest or anything, ordinarily in Lagos, they say the police in Lagos, they usually issue out about 40 rifles for patrol. But since the protest started, it increased to over 60, 65 rifles a day. They usually allocate between 5 and 10 bullets, ammunition to each policeman. When the protest started, right, just before the 20th of October, when the protest started, they started issuing 20 bullets. There are some of them that they call the special one, right? Among those, they issued the new rifles to go after all the protesters, wherever they found them. And they have this license to kill them. The killings that led to the 20th of October killing have been happening all over the country. But for Lagos State, not just at Lekki, we have been witnessing police killings in Mushin, police killings all across Lagos State, going after those they call the protesters, right? So between the 14th and the 20th of October, the police in Lagos State increased the bullet again, to the point that each policeman was guaranteed of at least 40 bullets. That when they give them the bullet, they will come back at night. They will account for what they used and where they used it and what is left over that they are returning. In the case of the protests, when they gave them license to kill, so they are not accountable for wherever they shot all those bullets. So people were dying and they were denying it. So on the 20th of October, they moved their military in. According to them, they said there is no evidence of anybody that got shot because they were just shooting blank bullets. Even Laya Mohammed, on 5 occasions, continue repeatedly, despite different scientific evidence on social media. He came out few days after the killings and he said this, just before they now commissioned the Buhari idiots, the Buhari Deans, the Buhari Diderins, who continue to ask, where are the corpses? Who died there? And all of that. This man, who has his own children, started it, the Minister of Misinformation in Nigeria.
CNN is grasping at straws. They are desperate. The so-called recent development, this film we just watched, we've seen it before. It's nothing but a rehash of the old CNN story. There's nothing new that has been brought out there. If anything, it contradicts the position of CNN. What we're asking CNN is, where is the evidence? Where are the bodies? The military has been consistent. They went to the toll gate. They fired blank ammunition. CNN has not been able, with all the kind of development, to contradict that position. And the issues we've raised remain very germane, which are that CNN contravened the basic principles of journalism, which is fairness and balance in the stories.
Laya Mohammed. Because the general belief within the government circle was that NSAS protest was to overthrow Boko Haram, not the youth, the young people protesting against police brutality. So today, the commission submitted their report, which I'm going to read in part to you. And the retired justice, who was the chairman of that commission, presented that report, which I'm going to read, like I said to you, to the governor.
This second report is the Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry on Restitution for Victims of SARS-related Abuses and Other Matters. Report of Lekki Incident Investigation of 20th October 2020. It is my greatest pleasure to present the report to the Lagos State government.
Thank you.
Now, this is the man that led the military killings at Lekki toll gate. They call him, let me see if I can get his name. Yeah, they call him Lieutenant Colonel S.O. Bello. That is the man that led the shooting. But during the panel sitting in Lagos, he was invited, but he never honored the invitation. Those soldiers that they took to the Lekki toll gate, they said the Nigerian army should produce them. They were never produced. Then during cross-examination, they brought another person to come and represent the Nigerian army. And everything that, during cross-examination, the man who represented the Nigerian army, Colonel Taiwo or Sergeant, wherever Taiwo, continued to say he was not there. He wasn't there. He was told. He believed. He did this, he did that. I'm not going to bore you with all of that. But for the record, in part, what I consider as the summary of what the panel, right, reported, an indictment on the government of Lagos State an indictment on the governor of Lagos State who invited the military, an indictment on the government of Nigeria who pretended that they didn't know why those protesters were there, their motives and objectives, and what they are capable of. The panel established the fact that they were singing out, the protesters were singing national anthem, waving the Nigerian flag, and yet the Nigerian military, the Nigerian police, on the invitation of the governor of Lagos State, shot and killed hundreds of peaceful protesters, took their bodies away, committed a crime that should, in fact, I've started seeing people in cuffs as we speak. But Nigeria, the man who came to defend the military, defend the army at the panel, Mr. Taiwo, the man eventually, when it was time for the witnesses to come in and, counter whatever he said, the Nigerian army withdrew from the panel so that they would never be questioned by the witnesses. They would never be, you know what I mean? All this detailed in the report. And if you have the time, this is in part what I call the summary of the judicial panel of Lagos State. I want you to please pay attention to the key words. I'm going to be jumping some when I think that they're like, too extensive or something, okay? To go and read whatever I think should be next, okay? So let's start from here. A critical part towards the end of the the report. So, was the Nigerian army invited on the 20th of October 2020? Hey, the panel finds that the ineffectiveness of the police cannot be a justification for the invitation of the army to Lagos State and the deployment of the army to the Lekki toll gate on October 20th, 2020 for the following reasons, among others. The NSAS protest at the Lekki toll gate was largely peaceful, organized, and orderly. No single serious or threatening report of fighting, robbery, attacks, bloodshed, or violence emanated from the Lekki toll gate before, on the day of the incident of the 20th of October 2020. The Constitution guarantees to every citizen the right to peaceful protest, which at times may result in civil disobedience. Given the number of people gathered at Lekki toll gate, an invitation of the army to Lagos State and deployment of the army to disperse such peaceful gathering should not be an option for a government that had already opened up dialogue with the protesters. So B, the panel finds, in the light of all the above, that issue of whether or not the army kept to any particular rules of engagement is immaterial, since the invitation of the army to Lagos State and the deployment of the army to Lekki toll gate in the first place was totally unwarranted. The army should on no account be deployed against unarmed civilians, how much less youth who are only demanding for respect for their fundamental rights. Did the army come to the toll gate on the 20th of October 2020? Hey, yes, the Nigerian army was at the Lekki toll gate. Troops were deployed from the 65 Battalion acting under 81 Division Garrison, forming a mobile team to patrol up to Ekpe, Ibejuleki, Shangotedo, Badore, and other areas along the Lekki-Ekpe axis on the 20th of October 2020, as asserted in the testimony of the Brigadier General Taiwo. That's the man I'm talking about. He got promoted after appearing at the panel, by the way, right? So B, the panel finds that the particular troop that visited the Lekki toll gate was from the 65 Battalion under the 81 Division Garrison, led by Lieutenant Colonel Bello, the man I showed you his picture earlier. C, the panel finds that General Taiwo contradicted himself when he stated that the protesters were pelting soldiers with stones and bottles, which is on page 6 of his testimony, when at the same time he said the same troops gave the protesters drinks, and he could not substantiate this allegation in the video he presented when he was cross-examined on the point. D, from his testimony, And under cross-examination, the panel finds that General Taiwo was not present at the Lekki toll gate at the time of the incident of October 20, which he claimed to have monitored on the internet. Panel therefore takes his testimony as limited to the operational guides of the deployment and the origin of the invitation of the soldiers by the Lagos state government. When did the army arrive at the toll gates? Evidence indicated that the Nigerian army arrived at the Lekki toll gate at about 6:40 p.m. on the 20th of October. Upon the review of the incident, Sentinel Forensics Limited, in their report, corroborated this, as the report identified 7 military vehicles to be present at the scene, specifically at 18:51 hours, which is 6:51 p.m. Did the Nigerian army use blank or live bullets on both at the Lekki toll gate? And did it result in casualties, including death? A. Testimonies from witnesses on whether or not the army used blank or live bullets, or both, at the Lekki toll gate are divergent. The testimony from the Nigerian army indicated that they tried to persuade the protesters to leave the toll gate and go home in compliance with the curfew already imposed. The Nigerian army also stated that they later fired shots of blank bullets into the air in order to disperse the protesters. According to their testimony, there were no fatalities occasioned by their shooting at the Lekki toll gate, and that only 2 persons fainted and were revived, and that at no time were live ammunition fired into the crowd. To buttress their testimony, the Nigerian army tendered in evidence the expended blank ammunition they fired into the air. They maintained that blank ammunitions do not have the capacity to cause bodily injury, let alone cause fatality. The evidence of Brigadier General Taiwo on what transpired on the 20th of October 2020, when the army were deployed to the Lekki toll gate, was hearsay, even as he made it clear he was not on ground at the Lekki toll gate on the said day. His failure to present the commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Bello, who was on ground, and Brigadier General Omata, who later joined him at the Lekki toll gate, is fatal to his account of what actually happened on the night of the 20th of October 2020. Brigadier General Taiwo admitted that the troops deployed were carrying blanks and live ammunition. A contrary testimony by witnesses of the NSAS protesters indicated that live bullets were fired by Nigerian army, and the empty shell casings of live bullets allegedly recovered from the scene were tendered in evidence by the witnesses of the protesters. Also, empty shell casings of fired shots were recovered by members of the panel during visits to locals in Ko. That is the location of crime. I don't even know if that's right. Testimonies from Reddington Hospital confirmed that bullet injuries were treated at their facility. The video evidence of the LCC and those of Sarah Ibrahim showed the soldiers were shooting in the air and at some time directly at the protesters. Both accounts of the forensic expert and the ballistic expert support the evidence of Sarah Ibrahim and other witnesses. By virtue of the document tendered by the MD of Lekki Concession Company, marked LCC Exhibit A, there is corroboration by LCC, which was on ground, that the Nigerian army shot at protesters and disrupted their activities on the 20th of October 2020. The document titled LCC condemns shooting of unarmed protesters, blah, 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 blah. Then G, a number of petitioners who testified before the panel established that they were hit from ammunitions of the army, and their injuries have been found by the hospitals to be consistent with gunshot injuries. The evidence of Reddington Hospital and Granville Hospital established the fact that not less than 20 persons who claimed to be protesters were treated for wounds consistent with gunshot injuries. It is therefore improbable that the army only used blank ammunitions at the toll gates on the day of the incident as claimed. There were many injuries and death. The medical evidence from Dr. Lawson and Dr. Aramolate of Reddington Hospital and Granville Trauma Center, respectively, reported at least one death at both facilities. Panel believes the testimony of Dr. Babajide Lawson that the situation at the Lekki branch of Reddington Hospital on the 9th of October 2020 could be termed as a case of mass casualty. Evidence from the forensics, evidence from the forensic experts, Sentinel Forensic Limited, engaged by the panel, confirmed that multiple muzzle flashes consistent with the discharge of ammunition were observed. The forensic expert also noted that at the commencement of engagement, for the most part, the muzzle flashes appeared to be directed upwards towards the sky, and at other times, the direction of the protesters. The expert further noted that there were instances where at least 2 persons sustained injury or rendered immobile and were carried by other protesters. From the totality of evidence adduced, it can be safely concluded that there were the use and discharge of live ammunitions at the Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October 2020, which resulted in injuries and death. One of the protesters who was shot and taken for dead, Olalekan Sanusi, which is a video evidence, WAT, of Sarah Ibrahim, eventually escaped to narrate his ordeal and experience, stated that at least 11 corpses were in the van where he had been put in and presumed dead. Dabira Ayuku also testified that she saw 7 bodies being put in a military truck at the Lekki toll gates. Both sets of evidence were uncontroverted. That means they were confirmed, or they were never disputed. Also, the Lagos State Chief Pathologist, Professor John Oladapo Obafunwa, in his testimony stated that death of 3 cases came about at the Lekki, but their identities of the dead were unknown. He was specific in identifying where the corpses were said to have been recovered, where they were said to be preserved, and when autopsies were conducted. He further concluded that cause of death of one of them was bleeding due to a blunt force trauma. Though he did not comment on the blunt force trauma of 2 of the 3 corpses. He, however, affirmed that the 3rd case was caused by gunshot injuries, specifically a rifle weapon. The evidence of the pathologist, Professor Obafunwa, that only 3 of the bodies that they conducted post-mortem examination on were from Lekki, and only 1 had gunshot injury, and this was not debunked. We deem it credible, as the contrary was not presented by the panel. Was not presented before the panel. The testimony and report of Professor John Obafunwa, a forensic pathologist of Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, showed that 3 corpses were deposited at the mainland hospital, Yaba Hospital, all from Lekki toll gate, and the autopsy conducted thereon revealed death from bleeding caused by penetrating object or rifle weapon. However, the panel finds that the fact of lack of identity of some of the other 96 corpses on the list supplied by Professor Obafunwa would not arbitrate the fact that some of them would have come from Lekki toll gate incident of October 2020, or that some other unidentified corpses may have been removed by their families or the military as claimed by NSAS protesters far and beyond the list tendered by Professor Obafunwa, 96 corpses, 96. But they could only do autopsy on 3. The panel also finds that most of the 96 corpses for which autopsies were conducted by Professor Obafunwa remained unidentified, but they were labeled with NSAS. Apparently, lending credence to the case of the NSAS protesters that the shootings by security agencies resulted in mass death within the state. 96 corpses that they said their family have not come to identify them, but they tag them as NSAS, but they are out there saying nobody died. The evidence of Brigadier General Taiwo on the rules of engagement, being the use of minimum force and use of lethal force only as a means of last resort, where other means to control the situation has failed, was not established by any iota of evidence to explain or justify the use of live ammunition at Lekki toll gate against peaceful protesters. The rules of engagement as stated by Brigadier General Taiwo that after firing has ceased, medical assistance must be rendered, details of incident both in writing and on audio-visual equipment on whether or not there were casualties must be recorded was not provided by the military. The army, in the circumstances of their engagement, did not comply with their own rules of engagement in the conduct of their operation at the Lekki toll gates on the night of the 20th of October. The panel finds that at the rule of engagement of the military under non-kinetic protocol been fully adopted and adhered to, a single shot need not have been fired to persuade the unarmed and defenseless youth to leave the Lekki toll gates in preparation for the commencement of the declared curfew by the state government in the evening, 9 p.m. of the 20th of October. From all available evidence, it is without doubt that the military did not just use blank ammunition at Lekki toll gate. The eyewitnesses' account shows very clearly that live ammunition was used by the military, who were initially the only persons who carried arms to the protest ground on the day of the incident. The medical evidence on the nature of the injuries sustained by the protesters and cases of death were a result of deployment of live ammunition as confirmed by forensic experts, Sentinel Forensic Limited and Oxygen Consulting UK Limited. That is the evidence of the involvement of the military, the killings that they denied. Bokwari wanted blood. Tifnumbu wanted to prove loyalty. Adegator, Governor Point and Kill, Sonwoiku called the military. They was playing and they killed over 100 human beings at a location. The total number of people killed in Lagos State for the 3 weeks of the NSAS protest, ladies and gentlemen, if indeed they gave the jurisdiction to the panel to cover other areas apart from Lekki toll gates, they will have a record of more than 400 human beings killed by the Nigerian government in Lagos State alone. In Lagos State alone. That night they killed people at Lekki toll gate. They killed over 186 human beings. That's the number. But now they said they found 96 and they are unknown. Many people who have managed to recover their dead and took their own family members for burial, right? They are so afraid. They have been threatened, intimidated that they will be killed if they ever come out to speak about it. And therefore, believing that that will make them or make this whole thing go away. Bokwari is the only person who can give the command to military to go out on any operation. If you see military out there doing anything, shooting and killing people, the only person who have the right tried to order the military out is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, the Bokwari, the lifeless mannequin. But guess what? Those who wanted to kill us, yeah, they have their friends in those who are pretending to be our leaders. So Tifnumbu and gang, to prove loyalty, they commissioned the killings of innocent people in Lagos State that day. But yeah, this is just for the start. Let us continue the part played by the police. Was the police present at the Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October? This is the second stage of the killings. Oh, listen. ACP Oludotun Odubono, who represented this Commissioner of Police, Lagos, and is the second in command operation of the Lagos State Police Command, stated that SARS and other tactical units were disbanded on the 11th of October 2020. He stated that there were no police officers at the Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October and 21st of October. That from the 14th of October 2020, the Commissioner of Police withdrew all police officers from the toll gate, and there was nothing to warrant the use of live rounds on the 20th and the 21st of October by any police officer. Similarly, the DPO of Maroko Divisional Police Station, CSP Raji Ganiyu, stated that no policeman was dispatched to the Lekki toll gate from the 14th of October 2020. That to his knowledge, as a DPO, the 20th of October 2020 was not an extraordinary day. He also stated that on the 20th of October 2020, at 8:30 p.m., people came to the station throwing bottles and attempting to burn down the station. That with the assistance of the community, they spoke to them and they left. That he was not armed, but his men were. He was not aware if anything happened at the Lekki toll gate till he saw it on social media the next day. That he remained at his station from the 14th of October 2020 and even on the 20th of October 2020. And he received no report of any incident at the Lekki toll gate. That is the DPO of the police station that is in charge of Lekki toll gate. He said he only read about it on social media. Wait for it. Several NSAS protesters, including Ms. Sarah Ibrahim and Onilewo Legend, testified of their direct one-on-one encounter with police officers at the Lekki toll gate between the 9th of the 20th of October 2020 and the morning hours of the 21st October 2020. In Sarah Ibrahim's documentary video evidence, Exhibit A labeled AHTJ 2821, from about the 14th to the 38th seconds, there is evidence that police officers were at the toll gate on the 20th of October to the 21st of October. It was also clear from the voices that the officers were preventing the protesters who they were in confrontations with from recording. The Premium Times interview presented in Exhibit A tendered by Sarah Ibrahim under OOSA 2155 showed persons who were interviewed and gave copious accounts that the police shot in ubiquitous fashion at the Lekki toll gate between the 20th and the 21st of October 2020. Those interviewed, Sarah Ibrahim, also personally pointed out that the DPO of Maroko Divisional Police Station personally shot someone. All the above clearly contradicts the testimony of both representatives of the Nigerian police force. From the above, the panel finds that the police was at the Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October and the 21st of October 2020, and that it is clear that the Nigerian police were aware that gunshots were being fired at the toll gate based upon the testimony of witnesses and evidence before the panel. Did the police shoot? Several NSAS protesters testified that the police shot at them. Perpetua Kamise Oshuku, and brutalized them, Onileowo legend, or threatened them, Sarah Ibrahim. In addition, video clips of eyewitnesses stating that they saw police shoot dead people at... Okay, I'm going to take that again, right? For example, they said that in addition, video clips of eyewitnesses stating that they saw police shoot dead people at or around the toll gate was tendered as well. So in Onileowo Legend's video evidence, his voice in the background clearly states police are shooting and he may die that night. In the investigative report by Premium Times earlier referenced, which was submitted by Ms. Sarah Ibrahim, several residents around the Lekki toll gate and in the shanties gave evidence that the police shot and killed several people. The police followed up with the killing of the protesters, in quote. The police followed up with the killing of the protesters after the soldiers had departed, shooting directly at fleeing protesters into the shanties and the lagoon at the Lekki Phase 1 foreshore, close to the Lekki toll gate, floating corpse, and some shot directly close to Sarah Ibrahim. The evidence before the panel shows that after the Nigerian army left, the Nigerian police force followed up with the killing of the protesters, shooting directly at fleeing protesters into the shanties and into the lagoon, as stated earlier, right? On arms used by the police, CSP Raji Ganiu stated under cross-examination that about 30 station guards had arms that day for the purpose of protecting the station, that there was no record of arms fired within that period by his men. He tendered the arms register of the Maroko police station covering the period of 1st October to 31st of October 2020. The police movement of the Maroko division of the Nigerian Police Force, which oversees the toll gate, shows that on the 20th of October, a total of 73 rifles were signed out. 66 rifles were signed out during the day, and 7 rifles during evening duty. The register also provides details of the beats that's posting that the officers collecting them were assigned to, and the amount of ammunition or rounds of ammunition issued. That's also detailed there about their involvement and all of that, how they move their weapons and the rest of that. I don't want to go into full all of that because I'm going to skip that, right? Let's go to now, from the totality of the above conclusion. So contrary to the evidence of the police as borne out by documentary evidence and the testimony of HOS, the police was fully aware of the event going on at the Lekki toll gate on the 20th and 21st of October, that the police did not withdraw to their station from the 14th of October as they claimed. They maintained some form of active duty as shown by the issuance of arms and ammunition from the 14th of October till the day of the incident and beyond to officers on various beats. Upon the testimony of the multiple eyewitnesses, the police were at the Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October, as was corroborated from the weapons signed out from the Armory of Maroko Divisional Police Station, one of which was for Lekki, many of which was for patrol. Furthermore, there was an unusual amount of rounds of ammunition signed out on that day as compared to other days. That the police shot and killed a protester around the toll gate, the watershed. That the police also brutalized and injured protesters around the Lekki toll gate, including Onileowo legend, and threatened several people. That the panel finds most alarming and concerning the testimony of the ACP Oludotun Odubono, who appeared on behalf of the Commissioner of Police, and that of CSP Raji Ganiyu, the DPO of Maroko Police Station, that No investigation was carried out in respect of the incident of the 20th of October 2020 because there was no basis for such investigation and no complaints were lodged with the Nigerian police force by victims or families of victims. This amounts to dereliction of duty. Police no do anything because they were the ones who carried out the attacks. They were the ones who carried out the killings. There's no need for investigation. Do you get that now? This is the the entire conspiracy to make some of you feel like Shinobi said I don't decrease like this. I saw people get shot. I saw the live video. I was watching it live. And you see these people who have their own children, who supervise killings of all the young people they killed that day. Yeah? They never have any reason to investigate it. There's no reason. Nothing happened. We just killed some people who wanted to destroy the name of Ashiwaju, who wanted to destroy the chance of Ashiwaju, who wanted to despoil the presidential ambition of the Ashiwaju and Wonwere. Let us continue because this is for the record. Remember, it is for the diary. Whether there was a massacre at the Lekki toll gate on October 20th, 2020, hey, the atrocious maiming and killing of unarmed, helpless, and unresisting protesters while sitting on the floor and waving their national and Nigerian flags while singing the national anthem can be equated to massacre in content. That's what the panel arrived at. It is a massacre. Remember, we already tagged it Lekki massacre, and they were asking us for the body. Where are the bodies? Where are the bodies? We're going to get to that stage now. Wikipedia described or defined massacre as follow. A massacre has been defined as the killing of multiple individuals, which is considered to be morally unacceptable, especially when perpetrated by political actors against defenseless victims. The panel considered whether what took place at the Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October was a massacre. According to the learned authors of Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary, one of the meanings of massacre is the act or instance of killing a number of usually helpless and unresisting human beings under circumstances of atrocity or cruelty. C. Against the above contextual definitions, the panel considered the following evidence before it. 1. The NSAS protesters at Lekki toll gate were defenseless members of the civil populace, youth, and young adults. 2. Both the Lagos state government and indeed the federal government were well aware of their status, objectives, and the nature of their protests. 3. The presence of protesters at the Lekki toll gate did not threaten the territorial integrity of Nigeria and could not be considered as a civil insurrection to warrant the intervention of the Nigerian army. 4. Some top officials of the Lagos state government met with the youth at the Lekki toll gate around between 12 and 1 p.m. of October 20, seeking selected representatives to discuss an urgent matter with them, with a view to persuading them to leave the Lekki toll gate. 5. Officers and soldiers of 65 Battalion of the Nigerian Army, led by Lieutenant Colonel Bello, left their base with blank and live ammunition to confront and disperse youth holding only their national flags with live bullets. 6. The soldiers actually shot blank and live bullet directly and pointedly into the midst of the protesters at the Lekki toll gate with the deliberate intention to assault, maim, and kill. 7. The soldiers turned back ambulances that were invited to render first aid and assistance to the wounded protesters. The panel established that. All of these are in. If you go back to all my videos, all my live broadcasts from the 2nd of October to the 7th of October, especially from the 7th of October 2020, you will see everyday evidence of what happened. Every day, the videos of everything that happened there. You will see them on my page. I mean, on this YouTube channel. Go on now. After this video, you will see all of them there. Now the panel has now confirmed them. Right? Now, uncontroverted evidence. Just 1 second. They killed innocent people. Then they denied them. Then they continue to deny them, even in death. And they continue to protect the killers of those who were asking to be protected by their own country. Get what I'm talking about? Anyway, let's continue. Uncontroverted evidence. Thank you so much, Kalu Okbara, my brother. I missed that your super chat earlier, but I can see your super chats on my screen right now. This temple is indeed the fountain of life. More blessings to the chief priest. God bless you, brethren. More and more. Let's continue. Uncontroverted evidence. The panel finds that the Nigerian army had exited the panel at the time of the testimony of the NSAS protesters, so that their testimonies and evidence were largely uncontroverted through contrary evidence from those accused of shooting, especially the Nigerian army. The only witness of the Nigerian army, Brigadier General Taiwo, admitted that he was not personally present at the Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October 2020. The panel finds that the cross-examinations of the NSAS protesters by the Lagos State government, Lekki Concession Company, and the Nigerian police force did not impeach the direct evidence of the eyewitnesses, whereas the evidence of the Lagos State government, the Lekki Concession Company, and the police came from witnesses who stated that they were not at Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October. Evidence of cover-up. Number 10. It was alleged and corroborated by that the soldiers had their vans parked at the Lekki toll gates and removed as many bodies and corpses of the fallen protesters, which they took away with their vans. One of the protesters who was shot and taken for dead, Olalekan Sanusi, who eventually escaped to narrate his ordeal and experience, stated that 11 corpses were in the van where he was placed in, and presumed dead. Miss Dabira Ayuku also corroborated the above by stating that she saw about 7 bodies placed in one of the military trucks at the Lekki toll gate on the 9th of October 2020. 11. I hope you are following, because many of you have seen this report, and it's actually it's actually 360 something pages, I believe. Many of you won't be able to read all of that, but you see this summary is just to finally put a nail on the lies that they call Lekki lies. Those they paid, all of them. Some of them who are now, most of them are from Yoruba land. That is the saddest part of it. The saddest part of this whole thing is that the atrocity that was committed in Lagos that prompted this investigation, this panel, right, happened in Yoruba land, in Lagos State. Those who are championing and telling the world that it never happened is a lie. It's not true. It's just to tarnish Bokwari's name. Continue to call it lies. Majority of them are from Yoruba land too. They are watching me right now. Even though they said you can't really shame the shameless, right? But they are shameless people that we just need to remind how shameless they have been. For whatever crumb they are getting, they are asking for bodies. But please follow this summary. And then establishment of facts from fictions, right? It was alleged, okay, I've said that, several unidentified bodies were removed by security agencies and LASEMU, which is the Lagos State Environmental Health Monitoring Unit, and deposited at various hospital mortuaries in Lagos State. Unidentified. Therefore, right, they don't exist. According to this Nigeria, 3 trucks with brushes. Listen to this, established fact. 3 trucks with brushes underneath were brought to the Lekki toll gate in the morning of 21st of October to clean up the scene of blood stains and other evidence. The people that are asking us, where is the blood? Well, if they shoot people, are we not going to see blood? They were the same people who brought cleaner. You see all those street sweepers with brush to clean the entire place. 3, they brought 3 to clean the entire place, clean the blood, pick up all the bullet holes and everything, so that when the whole world come to check, they will say, maybe they said they killed many people here. Where is the blood? They cleaned the place up in the morning, very early in the morning of October 21st. Few hours after they committed the killings, took all the bodies away, deposited them at different mortuaries as unidentified, unknown people. There was abundant evidence before the panel that the Lagos State Waste Management Authority, LOMA, indicated in its Twitter handle that it had effectively cleaned up the Lekki toll gate scene immediately after the incident of October 2020. The denial of ambulances by the soldiers, which could have assisted in the prompt and effective treatment of the injured protesters, was cruel and inhuman, and it contributed immensely to the large numbers of deaths and casualties on the part of the protesters, especially those from the Lekki toll gates. Number 16, the panel finds the cases of death or injured protesters as credible and uncontroverted. Established. The panel finds that most NSAS protesters and victims of the Lekki toll gate incident of October 2020 were largely unwilling to be identified in public for fear of persecution or harassment by the security agencies and the government generally. Immediately after the protest, there was palpable fear that the army and police were visiting hospitals to finish up the protesters, to the extent that some of them could not return home immediately. Some of the protesters received threats, and some were being trailed by unknown persons. The panel established that. Do you see that now? Now, list of some of the casualties of Lekki toll gate. These are those they manage, those who are courageous enough, those who felt like, well, whatever will happen, let it happen. The families that could come out, right? These are those that they were able to establish. Those who got shot, gunshot injury, those who died, a lot. I'm not going to be reading them, and you can take your time to get to read some of them because there's more. The involvement of the LCC on the Lekki toll gate incident of October 2020. LCC is owned by Tifnumbu. Remember that before the soldiers came, LCC came and they removed the CCTV camera from Lekki toll gate in order to make sure that they hide what was about to happen. But that is not all. Yeah? They also did a manual manipulation of the video to further hide what happened at Lekki toll gate, which then make Chief Numbu and all of them who are the owners of Lekki toll gate, they are now murderers. They should be declared wanted for murder. They are murderers. They hated the killings and they knew what they were about to do, and they took away the security cameras that could have captured everything perfectly well. This is what the panel found out. The LCC owns and runs the Lekki toll gate, which became the epicenter of the Lekki protest. The LCC was obviously in charge of the operation and custody of the CCTV cameras, and indeed all cameras at the Lekki toll gate. There is no doubt whatsoever that these cameras would provide real-time evidence as to what happened if provided and if they remained untouched. From the totality of evidence before it, the panel finds that some set of cameras stationed at the Lekki toll gate were removed by members of staff of LCC on the 20th of October 2020, and they were not tendered before the panel. These cameras would have assisted the panel in its investigation into the incident that occurred in the night of the 20th of October 2020. There is no doubt that this picture would have been clearer, and the panel and the forensic expert would have been assisted in their fact-finding mission and analysis if these vital pieces of evidence had been tendered. The panel finds from the report of the forensic experts that the movement of the camera following a preset format most of the time and switching from this mode at other times strongly suggests that it was operated on both automated and manual mode during the time under review, contrary to the evidence of the MD of the LCC that his men were not on ground. They all lied. They all lied. And they lied to kill people. And they are the people calling themselves honorable, your leader. They are there parading themselves as those who love you, who actually wishes you well. People who could actually bury and kill innocent people this massively and lie. And they go back home to their own families, to their own children, praying, my son will be successful. Why they work to kill other people's children? How does that work? How? Well, also, the huge change from, in fact, where's that part I wanted to read earlier? One sec. Yeah. So, the huge change from color to night mode at 18:53:07 hours, which is like 6:53 p.m., alludes to conscious manipulation by the operators of the LCC camera, as it appears to have occurred at very crucial moments where the quality of the footage of the incident in color mode might have provided better insight to the event occurring at that specific point. They deliberately altered the video. The moment the soldiers arrived, right, they turned it into black and white. From the colored mode it was before, they turned it into black and white so that you and I can begin to argue whether that one a gun and on a stick, whether that's in a stone or in a pure water, right? Deliberately. Furthermore, the Sentinel team led evidence that it requested for access to the main server, and it was directed by the LCC to the TP1 at the Koito gate. The team was told that the main server from which the CCTV footage was derived had been burnt. Hey! The panel therefore finds this contradictory to the early evidence of the MD of the LCC that the cameras at each toll gate communicate directly to a central database server located at Chevron, which he claimed was intact after the incident of 20th of October 2020. G. The panel finds that the LCC CCTV footage of the Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October 2020 ends at 8:08 p.m. when the Nigerian army were still at the Lekki toll gate. The footage stopped. Nothing else captured anymore. Right? Now, disobedience to lawful summon by the Nigerian military. I'm going to jump that because they didn't honor the invitation of the panel to bring those who were indeed present at the Lekki Toge, who carried out the killings and the shootings. The Nigerian army protected their identity, protected them, and then they were never revealed or allowed to participate. However, aftermath of the Lekki Toll Gate incident, apart from the isolated incident of violence in some part of Lagos State prior to October 2020, the panel finds that the massive lootings, arson, destruction, and mayhem that occurred were the result of the incident of October 2020, precipitated by soldiers from the 65 Battalion. These wanton destructions, from the testimony of General Taiwo, were perpetrated by hoodlums outside the Lekki Toll Gate area and thus outside the terms of reference of the panel. So the panel was set up to probe the Lekki Toll Gate, not to probe the NSAS killings in the entire Lagos State. Do you understand? So therefore, they couldn't tell us what they found on that because they were not even inviting people who are not from Lekki then, right? Now, said General Taiwo stated that after the soldiers had left, having forcefully dispersed the peaceful NSAS protesters, that hoodlums returned to burn the Lekki Toll Gate on the 9th of October 2020. Now, shootings at Lekki Toll Gate. From the evidence of General Taiwo on pages 6, 7, 21, 22, the panel finds that both blank and live ammunition were fired. That's repetitive, confirming the shooting. Also confirming the shootings, confirming the injuries, something we've read a lot on that. Now, philanthropy of the hospitals who confirmed that they took care of them. Let me read that. Panel commends Reddington Hospital, Vedic Life Healthcare, Granville Trauma Center, Doreen Hospital, National Orthopedic Hospital, Victoria Island Consultancy and Medical Services, and all the medical doctors and personnel that attended to the victims of gunshot wounds from the Lekki Toll Gate and treated all of them free of charge. Panel finds that some of the victims required urgent surgeries and complicated medical procedures to save their lives, and all were done free of any charges. Panel recommends them for special awards by the Lagos State, blah, 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 forensic evaluation, cases emanating and all of that. You see, these are part in part. However, the panel makes a recommendation. This is another interesting part of the entire talk and the whole investigation, okay? They made some recommendations that are really, really, really important as part of this chat tonight, right? Says, the panel, having found that the entire police force, as first responders, did not have adequate facilities, manpower, experience, and training to prepare them for such civil and orderly protest as happened at the Lekki Toll Gate on October 2020, recommends as follows: that the police should be adequately funded, that the police should be effectively trained, the provision of requisites, I don't know what this means, accoutrement or accoutrement and equipment. I've never heard that word before. I'm so sorry. I'm going to go look it up, by the way. The recommendation of a better and more harmonized communication system with all security apparatus of the state, the welfare of police officers, particularly as it relates to improved salary, well-equipped offices, provision of decent accommodation and transportation, just same thing the NSAS protesters were asking the government to do. Make the life of a policeman worth living so that you can cut down corruption and they won't be profiling the innocent people out there, extorting them and even killing them for money. Take care of your policemen, pay them good wages, give them good training and all of that. Those were the demands of the NSAS protesters, but they got killed for it. Hundreds of them got killed in Lagos. Hundreds more were killed in Obigbo. Because you see, NSAS didn't end in Lagos, so they come to that. The panel recommendation. The panel recommends disciplinary actions to the following officers: Lieutenant Colonel S.O. Bello and Major General Godwin Humelo. These are the two people who led the shooting and killing at Lekki toll gate on the 20th of October, by the way. Now you have their names. I do have the picture of the second guy, but I've shown you the picture of the first one, Colonel S.O. Bello, who refused to honor the summon of the panel in order to frustrate the investigation. All officers, excluding General Omata, and men of the Nigerian army that were deployed to Lekki toll gate on October 20, 2020, should be made to face appropriate disciplinary action, stripped of their status, and dismissed as they are not fit and proper to serve in any public or security service of the nation. Before I continue, if to say they carry out this panel all over Nigeria, trust me, thousands of Nigerian police and soldiers, you will see them. They will be paraded as the killers of hundreds, if not thousands of people during the NSAS protest in Nigeria. If you know how many people these people killed at Obigbo, in the case of this NSAS protest, if you know how many people they killed at Enugu, if you know how many people they killed in Eastern Nigeria, if you know how many, if you start collating all the figures, I'm talking about coordinated killings, like what happened at Lekki. This is no longer about that protest. No, they are going into people's homes, soldiers, because they said NSAS protest is now being sponsored by IPOB, and therefore they have to deal with IPOB. We're a wiki of River State. They brought in the, so just like Sonwo-Iku of Lagos, they brought in soldiers to go into Obigbo in a local government, in a community in River State. In the wake of this NSAS, or will they come to that? They said all of them, they should bring them out, dismiss them, and then jail them for murder. The panel recommends that all those arrested in the course of the protest should be granted bail, prosecuted for any offense that may be alleged against them, or where no prima facie evidence of culpability is disclosed upon due investigation, they should be released forthwith. The panel recommends that the Nigerian army be discouraged in intervening in internal security. Nigerian army are already in Eastern Nigeria, where they have already declared martial law. They've already declared state of emergency. They are in Zombe. They bombed and killed people, innocent people in their homes. In Enugu, we saw the video of soldiers shooting into people's homes, right? But this panel in Lagos State, because of what happened at Lekki toll gate, they are asking that military should not be called in to come and where Boko Haram is. We can dream on. But I love this, by the way. The panel was put together by Lagos State government, who invited the military. And the panel came out. They didn't give a damn. They gave it as it should be. And they now handed it over to the governor. Oh yeah, now the report be that. Implement it. Check our recommendation. Make sure you do it so we know you won't do it. But let it be on record. All right? The panel, having found that the use of social media played significant roles in escalating the crisis and appeals for restraint in spreading unverified pieces of information to the general public. The panel commends these hospitals and all of them. The panel recommends that the commitments made to the hospitals by the Lagos State government through the governor and commissioner for health, this is still pretty much on the hospital, the DPO of Maroko Police Station, along with policemen deployed from Maroko Police Station on the 20th and 21st of October, should be prosecuted for arbitrary and indiscriminate shooting and killing of protesters. This one is on record though. DPO of Maroko should be arrested. All the police officers with him on that day, they should be arrested and prosecuted for murder. The panel recommends that grievance address mechanism should be improved upon to engender speedy attention and action. Government should engage regularly with youth and be proactive and responsive when tense situations arise. Panel recommends that curfew regulations should be widely publicized. Panel recommends reorientation and training of police and security personnel or handling of crime scenes. Panel recommends that coroner inquests and autopsies should be done in cases of suspicious death within a maximum of 1 month of occurrence of the incident. Panel also recommends that there should be guidelines and standard procedures for mortuaries on information to be requested and documentation done in cases of bodies brought to them. So many recommendations. This one too. Panel recommends training of health officials, particularly LASEMO. That recommendation I saw there earlier. Yeah, another one is that the number 19. The panel recommends that the Lekki Toll Gate Plaza be made a memorial site for NSAS protest by renaming it to NSAS Toll Gate. The panel recommends that October 20th of every year, the day is made a toll-free day at Lekki Toll Gate as long as the toll gate exists. That October 20 of every year be made NSAS Day nationally for the remembrance of our fallen youth. That for the purpose of restitution, healing, and reconciliation, the federal government needs to publicly apologize to the youth for abruptly undermining the protest with their state actors. The government should do all it can to bridge the gap of distrust with the youth. They can never gain that trust again. They should forget that one. A monument memorializing the lives lost and those injured at Lekki Toll Gate with the names inscribed on the monument. The panel recommends the establishment of a standing committee to bridge the gap between the society and the police via information gathering, community engagement, youth sensitization, prompt intervention on issues that requires intelligence-led policing, and community policing principles for the review and action of the state commissioners of police and blah, 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 blah. It is recommended that the scrutiny of all disciplinary processes of the Nigerian Army and the police be made transparent and outcomes be made public periodically. The dark days of military rule is over, and more democratic principles and approaches are required to win both the peace and public trust. The panel recommends that the complaint response unit of the police at the FHQ, Force Headquarters, must be reinforced, blah, 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 and on. And conclusion, the NSAS movement primarily demonstrated freedom from ethno-religious tensions that plague the framing of Nigerians' domestic and political issues. Young Nigerians were united, had a common goal to end police intimidation, oppression, and brutality. The movement highlights the need for more young people to exercise their civil and political rights, to speak out against injustice, irregularity in the system of government, and reforms in the police system, and the review of their emolument to stem down this wave of corruption, illegal arrest, and detention of the citizens by the police officers. So these are the members of the panel that signed this. The chairman of the panel is retired Honorable Justice Doris Okuwobi is the chairperson. We have members of the panel, Mr. Ebun Olu Adegboruwa, SAN, DIG Frederick Taiwo Lakano, retired, Ms. Patience Patrick Udo, Mr. Shegun Awusonya, that is Sega, Mrs. Oluwatoyin Odusonya, Mr. Lucas Koyejo, Mr. Maje Kodunmi Temitope Oluwaseun. I'm glad I managed to add this to the diary tonight for the sake of those who probably just want to listen rather than take time to read. I have done that for you. Now you can take your time to read this again. This is their report. Everything in this report, confirmed everything that we have said when this crime was being committed. But they paid people. They paid these Facebook bandits, social media adsmen. to continue to say it never happened. Now that their own panel set up in Lagos State, Tifnumbu State, who then are we going to say is lying? They killed human beings for asking for a better country, one Nigeria. And most of those who were out there, Princess, you know their names and all of that, but they've done a good job. I mean, they have shown so much courage to deliver this. People weren't expecting this. I bet you, even Sanwo Iku wasn't expecting this. It's an indictment. Lagos State government is indicted that Lagos State government called the military. They called in the police. They harmed them. They killed protesters, took their bodies away. Then the following day, Lagos State government sent their cleaners to go and clean the crime scene, to wipe away the blood, clear everywhere, so that even if you bring anybody from anywhere, they will say, but we can't find any evidence. We can't find this. But still, there are so much evidence that they could not contradict or oppose. And they did all of that simply because Tifnumbu want to be president. That's it. Bokwari felt like they were about to overthrow him. Tifnumbu wanted to prove his loyalty. And they decided that Sanwo Iku should invite the military. A country that killed their own citizens. That is no longer a country. It is now a contraption. I'm glad this is on record. And for the sake of those who will want to know about what happened, in summary, now you have it. Now you have it. Sanwo Iku came out and he said, only one person died. Fine. In fact, you see, I've forgotten that because I've been reading all this while. All right. Somebody said, you claim you are doing a program and you are calling people names wrongly. Nikure. What is that your name again? Rashidi. Do you know what I actually wanted to do tonight? I'm so happy you reminded me. Let me spend my next 15 minutes so that I can really tell you that the program I'm doing tonight, right, is to call out those Olori Bruku like yourselves who used the whole year to deny what was so obvious. Yeah? Man, I like this. What was so obvious, right? And because you wanted to protect your the Tifnumbu, the Ashiwaju awon ole, the Ashiwaju awon agbero, the Ashiwaju eyin olori buruku like yourselves, right? Because you wanted to keep them protected and you continue to deny the death of those murdered by asking us for evidence. Now you have the evidence. Olori buruku akuri like you. You are talking about calling your name wrongly. Oh, Nikure, you and people like yourself. I hope that makes you better. The reason what I actually wanted to do tonight was to begin to call all of you out one by one. Let's start with this Sanwo Iku. It was Sanwo Iku that came out that said nobody died. Even when on the same on CNN, Sanwo Iku said only one person died. Yeah? And we said, you Sanwo Iku, Governor Point and Kill. You, in that night, after your soldiers and your policemen have done the job, right? You were going from one hospital to another, taking pictures. How could you come out later and say, na blank bullet then shoot? What do you call it? The Tifnumbu of Lagos. Ashiwaju awon gbewiri, Ashiwaju awon gbere. They interviewed him. Ashiwaju, what do you think? They have killed people at Lekki to prove his loyalty. What did he say? He said, we should begin to look into the people at Lekki. What are they doing there? Where were they there? Where is the evidence? All to prove loyalty. All to say nothing happened. Then right before our eyes, all this Olori Bruku, Lagos Abobakus, all these Oshogbo Alimajiris, all these Omoali, Yoruba, all these ones with all this Rashidi and Co. All this Omoali, Jati, Àwọn ọmọ ẹranko, ọmọ lásán Aja even better one. They decided to link NSAS protesters and the hoodlums of Lagos. That we saw how they mobilized them. We saw it. We saw how they mobilized all their thugs. How they paid them. How they moved them out to everywhere. How all these Aboki, Fulani, Hausa were robbing shops in Lagos State, breaking into shops. We saw everything. We saw all of them breaking into different, what do you call it? What did they call their boss in Lagos again? BRT. Meanwhile, this was after they have killed people at Lekki, and the protesters have said, make everybody they go out. So they go out. So we know they protest again, or they have started killing us. So don't come back there. Because we were like, they killed us yesterday. We are resuming there tomorrow. I remember that vividly. But you see this Olori Bruku Ashire, Lagos Abobakus, all this Olori Bruku, Lojuron Korogo, I want more Ali, Onijekuje, I want more Ali. I Jema Mobitara Big Balo, I want more Ali, Afofun Bemu. They said that it is the NSAS protesters that were breaking into shops. NSAS protesters, it was NSAS that caused this and that. Meanwhile, it was during the NSAS that people realized that the Olori Bruku, APC, Egbekegbe, all these Agberus, all these executive tasks that you see on social media, because go and read your comment now. Start reading the comments. You will see them there. They will be, they are there right now. These looters, these hoodlums, they discovered that their senior hoodlums, their senior criminal hoodlums, Tifnumbu and gang, they were keeping all their food. Waiting concern NSAS with your food that your politicians stole from you. Since all of you they pretend say you are living in the mega city, which is the mega slum, the poverty capital of the world. The moment they discover one warehouse with food, what happened? All the poor people that you are all pretending to be living in a mega city, the hunger in you unleashed. But that was when they have already killed people at Lekki, and everybody don't talk, say, me would they go house, me would they go house. They go out, so if you come out, come protest, they think you, no come out, no be then all of you now, APC looters, APC criminals. Because number one, when they talk about unemployment in Nigeria, when they talk about the highest unemployment, go to Lagos. They share the largest percentage, 419 educated, jobless Agberus. And the easy job in Lagos State as we speak today is no other job than be an Agbero or just be a Fufusela to Tifnumbu and gang. You will likely get something. Now, when the hunger hits them, coronavirus day, NSAS protesters that are giving people food, giving people drink, giving them medical care, giving them everything government denied them. Then you kill them. Everybody scattered. Your hoodlums took over everywhere. Your Senate, your rep members, your assembly members, they've all looted your palliative. Abinobi, so what happened? But before then, did we not see how they mobilized their thugs on them at Alausa? Unleashed their thugs, Lagos thugs, on them at Lekki. Then they turned around and said, it was the NSAS protesters that were burning building. They destroyed Lagos. They were doing this, they were doing that. Ha! Ni kure. Tomo, tiran, ni kure. Tebitarayin, ni kure. You see those people who died? I wish I get something where if I say, ni kure, ni kure, loto. I wish it can happen. This guy spent a whole year making all of us think that we were mad. That everything we saw that day, they didn't happen. Now they set up a panel. The panel don't release the report. Rashidi wants me to say it with respect. Excellency Governor Sanwo-Olu. Ni kure times 1 million. Rashidi, to bashin wo video yi. Ni kure tiran tomo. Because we know your kind. And you know why? You know why she's special? To repeat message I know all of you Lagos Abobaku Lunjeya, born to suffer, aimless human beings who have dragged us to this level because we found out that those who told us to forget what happened at Lekki. Those who told us to forget those they killed there in Ibadan, killed there in Osogbo, killed there in Ondo, killed there in Abeokuta, killed there all over the place. Those who are telling us that they never happened. This Olori Bruko, some of them are in their 30s, they are in their 40s, some of them are in their 50s. And some of them are not in Nigeria, but guess what? They want you to say it with respect. They want me to say it with respect. Uncle Tinubu sir. Uncle, you see, Ashiwaju Tinubu sir. Oh, ni kure tomo Rashidi. Because that's exactly what I came here to do. You know why? Sonweku said one person died. Tinubu said, what were they doing there? Yeah? Fashola is Aleko Barack Obama. He came there like an inspector and he picked the camera. They asked him about the camera 2 days ago. He said he didn't know what happened to that camera. But guess what? He picked the camera as an investigator. Inspector Fashola and Olori Bruko and Yashiri Omo Ale Yoba. To ba je ti yin ni. Ṣé ó yẹ kó difficult fún wa tó yìí? Pẹ̀lú nǹkan tí wọ́n ti ṣe fún wa nílẹ̀ Yorùbá, pẹ̀lú bí wọ́n ṣe gbá wa tó, pẹ̀lú bí wọ́n ṣe sọ àwọn èèyàn wa di ẹ̀dùn arinlẹ̀, tó sọ àwọn èèyàn wa di ẹni tó ń ti ilẹ̀ jẹ. Tó bá jẹ́ pé kì í ṣe ẹ̀yin olórí burúkú oníjẹkújẹ, ẹ̀yin ọmọ àlè ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, ẹ̀yin ọmọ àlè, ọmọ ìrankíran. Tó bá jẹ́ torí tiyín ni, ṣó yẹ kó difficult fún wa láti gba ara wa ká fèsì wọn ni? Ṣó yẹ kó difficult? Some of them said, you know, Ashiwaju is our number one. Ni kure tiran se. 1 million times. Eba mi ma repeat wọ́n ni kure. Poverty escalated in Yoruba land. The people who brought us, who brought the poverty upon us, they also brought death, right? They brought death, and they want us to say, sorry, sir. Sir, kini kon sir. O follow me for she, o ti yen sin, e ma blow ni. Tomo tiran. We wish making win so you really shell a bit, like, you know, make I get something like we say, I say, hey, you know what I mean? I know that it's, you know, it doesn't work that way. But anyway, we feel I want alale, I want to nile. We feel beg fún yín leni. O follow me for she, gbogbo ẹ̀yin olórí burúkú tẹ́ ń gbàbọ̀dẹ̀ fúnlẹ̀ Yorùbá. O follow ma ṣe tọmọtọmọ. Tiran. Makon báyìí ni. Wọ́n máa fi ẹ̀jẹ̀ yín ṣe ètùtù ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ni. Directly and indirectly. Ẹ̀yin olórí burúkú ọmọ àlè. Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀? Tinubu and gang, they want us to say, oh, sorry, sir. Please, sir. We are pleading with you, Baba. Our Baba, sir. Our Baba, please come and help us when we know that they were the ones who invited the killers. In Yoruba land, let me tell you this, until the emergence of all these Olori Burukus, in Yoruba land, we are not allowed to respect people with shady characters. If you are a criminal in Yoruba land, you will be ostracized. People will know that, you see that family, they are criminal family. You can't marry them. You can't marry into their family. Be careful. If anything happens, you know, historically in Yoruba land, so that you have to guide your name very well. We respect people because they have to earn that respect. Okay? In Yoruba land, our kings, royal fathers, I'm not talking about these political obas now, or these only jekuche obas, that on a every given opportunity, they will start yapping dust. And you'll be asking yourself, this one a Yoruba oba? Is this one Yoruba oba? I'm not talking about those political oba. In Yoruba land, the real obas, they are the next, they are the most powerful after our gods. Which means you can't tell an oba that is wrong if an oba is not wrong. Or else, And tó bá fojú dọba, àwo máa wò. That means a king can order them to kill you, and that's it. But guess what? As powerful as an Oba is in our tradition, the most respected, our elders and people who hand them, right? Because in Yoruba land, as we have the Agbagbas, yeah, those who we call the elders, respected elders, right? We have the Agbayas. Those never do wells, but they are old too. They mean nothing. They are as useless as a tissue paper. The Agbayas. So, in the Yoruba culture, a king is like an unquestionable person. But in Yoruba land culture, if that king violates his traditional responsibility to his stool, to his subjects, the same king that they say Igbakeji Orisha, Alashe Ikeji Osha, the Yoruba will tell that king to go and kill himself, or they are going to dethrone him. That's a very powerful king. So what the hell is Ashiwaju Awon Agbero, Ashiwaju Awon Ole? In Yoruba land, if you are a thief and you dress in a gold loin, you dress so majestically, you are driving a gold Rolls Royce, you are flying a golden plane, forget it. In Yoruba land, you will still be seen as a thief. That's our culture. Before this Olori Buruku Rashidi and the Anko, they are now trying to teach us respect, how we have to respect thieves, how we have to respect murderers, how we have to respect ritualists who kill for power, how we have to respect selfish individuals because they are old and they have money and they have power. Rashidi Omoeru, are you watching? Rashidi, I hope your children or your family will not try and be like you. You don't respect thieves. Leadership comes with a responsibility. Leaders who have no credibility, who have failed in their responsibilities, they have no right to claim to the entitlement. It's pretty much like claiming what doesn't belong to you. And you don't go about and say, don't call people with their wrong name. Call people with their wrong name. Wrong name. What's the happy? And you lose you ni Maiyegun èpè yìí pọ̀. Èpè mo fẹ́ ṣépè lálẹ́ yìí ni. Èpè ni mo fẹ́ ṣẹ́ tẹ́lẹ̀, but you know, the reading too long. I don't read too long. I was coming in here to say, ẹ̀yin olórí burúkú ọmọ àlè ilẹ̀ Yorùbá tẹ́ deny EndSARS. Ibo lẹ wá fojú sí báyìí o. It's not that Keboya is going to make any difference from all of you anyway, but it's always good to remind you. Nigeria will happen to you too. That the swagger. You have a government that kills our citizens until you are caught up in it. We are waiting for you too. We have the evidence now. Let those, just like I was reading the news the other day on this, what's they called? The Nigeria military that cannot fight Boko Haram. The Nigeria military, they got killed. You know that general, they call him, we then killed just a few days ago. On their way to Askira in Borno, where Boko Haram was, they took over the town. As we speak now, they told you that they have gone back to go and kill 50 Boko Haram. Now genje, na lie. Do you get that now? Boko Haram said, we don't kill 4 people. We kill 17. All of you idiots. Kill 4 people. They say Boko Haram kill 4 people. Myself carry the story. Say you, Maiyegun idiot. We kill 17. 17 people we kill. All of the soldiers. And so we kill them. Kill them like that. Because why? Those who are supposed to go and enforce the fight against terrorism, they are in Igbo land. They are in Yoruba land, intimidating us, threatening us, telling us that we can't talk, we can't do this, we can't do that. If we try this, you will be charged for treason, you will go to jail, arrest this one. You look at all these Lagos Abobakus, all these Ajiyaje, suffering and smiling, born to suffer head, including all their uncles and their aunties in London. They have auntie and uncles in London. Oh yeah, some of them have wasted most of the useful part of their lives, right? They are in their 50s, 60s, useless human beings. They are in London, right? They are Yorubas shouting swagger, swagger. They are the motivator, the inspirational speaker for those mugus, the morons back in Lagos, the Lagos Abobakus, the what do you call it? The crumb eaters, the ass lickers, the crumb chasers, I call them. All of their auntie and uncle, they are there in America collecting, what do you call it? State support. They are in London, they're useless, right? But guess what? They are important now because they have people looking up to them from Nigeria. People they talk to and say, wait for Ashiwaju when Ashiwaju come. Ashiwaju, swagger 2023. The same way they shouted, change, change, change because of Ikene Shatabandu, fake Pastor Ruga. The same way they were shouting, change, 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 change. Then they changed it to next devil, next devil, next devil, next devil, next devil. Most of them, they remained in London. When they go to Nigeria, they go begging. They go begging just like the regular. But the difference is that they are coming from London. All your slave masters, they can have access to them. They can sit with them. And when they are going, you take that. I can give them 2 million naira. Give them 5 million naira. They are from London. Oh, give them 10 million naira. They are from America. So when they change it to dollars, they will have something to go back with. At the end of the day, they become contract chasers, beggars like yourself. So they stay there. They are telling you right now that, people are ganging up to stop your Ashiwaju from becoming a president. Ask yourselves, when they were telling you about Ikene Shatabandu, Agbowori Babaoja, the fake Pastor Ruga in 2015, talking to you about how your life is going to change, they didn't tell you that you are going to become hoodlums, right? Beggars. You're going to become, part of the poverty capital of the world, where you have to live in extreme poverty and continue to live in denial of it. Humbled slaves, obedient fools, sophisticated morons. You didn't know that, but they are still in London. They have collected the contract for 2023. They are already opening different fake pages. They are motivating you. And you, the mumus, the born mumus, you can attack Maiyegun. You can abuse me. You can call me names. You can wish me anything, right? But guess what? Same thing I was telling you 6 years ago. Eje, pirigidiya. You know what that means, eh? You can continue to hope. You can continue to wish. You can continue to dream, all right? But guess what? You see those wearies that live abroad that are telling you that Nigeria is going to be great. Nigeria is going to be this and that, right? They will stay abroad. They are not coming back to Nigeria. When you enter your shoko or kosho, they will be here encouraging you to, if you feel survivor more, another one they come. You are just exchange, what do you call it? You are just their bargaining chip. Then they use una to survive. So the government that can kill you, the government that can kill other people, they will kill you too when your time comes. I am just your savior. I'm the person who will continue to tell you that if Nigeria tells you that you will be fine, that those who are asking that the entire structure should be broken down completely, renegotiated, and if those who want to stay with Nigeria want to stay with Nigeria, let them stay with Nigeria. Those who don't want to stay with Nigeria anymore, let them break away from Nigeria. Those of us telling you that, we are those people who are telling you the only truth, but it is the hardest truth. It is like the most impossible truth, but it's the truth that you are still going to come and accept. Okay? So those who are using you to make money, those who are using you to collect a contract from those, in Nigeria, those ones who went under the tube in London, they recorded the tube in London, and they put Ashiwaju awon ole, Ashiwaju awon 419, Ashiwaju awon gbewiri, Ashiwaju awon apayan, Ashiwaju awon agbero. They put his picture in the tube. This is what your Nigeria will be. Was that not the same thing they told you Nigeria will be if Bukwari become your president? Now you are poorer than before. Your security is worse than before. The impunity that finally put you in your place is as worse than before. Now everything you thought would never happen, they've happened. Now you are building a new one, a new hope, a false one. And therefore, right, you can watch other people get killed for standing up to make a difference, for standing up to challenge a status quo that has kept you poor, except if you are also one of those who are making from it. They are making a lot of money from their politics, so make I not lie you, right? But trust me, they are also creating a lot of poverty. That all this poverty, what do you call it, chasing people are now venting their frustration on social media. Somebody was like there early this morning and he said, thank you so much, Yomi. We see all this from abroad. That's why we couldn't stop talking about it. But the obas, leaders, and politicians are the problems we're facing. They have lost every respect from us. They will pay for it. The time is ticking. Pam, 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 pam. And we hope that they will be a fan of Maiyegun's diary Politico, where I prefer to speak to their conscience and say, consequences there. You see all these Buhari idiots, all these side barbarians, all these Lagos Abobakus and Oshogbo Alimajiris. The only thing I'm doing to you that you feel like I'm changing your name, giving you wrong name, is that I'm speaking directly to your conscience to let you know, your subconscious mind, that even if you are not thinking it, Nigeria is meant to kill you. Those who you probably would like to defend, they don't give a damn if you die, because even getting you killed makes them kind of maintain their power in a way, because if they have to spread fear, they need to kill people. And when they kill people, no consequences, no investigation, no nothing, right? Who do you think they kill? Do you think they kill their enemies? Well, you are not thinking. So I speak directly to your conscience. APC, PDP, blah, 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 nonsense. You are still that Nigerian, Abi. You are an endangered species. Nigeria is going to kill you if you don't kill Nigeria. I'll see you some other time. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I just thought I should put that on record. I wouldn't just forgive myself if I didn't drop anything on that panel updates. You know, we still have a lot of review we're going to do on the discovery, but this particular one is loaded. You want to know what happened? Please watch the video again if you are just joining. My friends on YouTube, do me this, offering time before you go. You know that same way you can use a super chat on Maiyegun's diary Politico, that dollar sign that is beside, I don't know what sign is yours, but it's usually dollar sign beside your comment on YouTube, right? If you tap it, you can also be a member of Maiyegun's diary Politico, where you can be a silver member, a gold member, a premium member, platinum member, or a diamond member. I've got close to 300 of my friends who have become members. These are the paying members of Maiyegun's diary Politico. You can be any, right? But the most important thing that you should never forget is your offering. If you ever jump into me, if you ever jam my video anywhere, always drop your offering, which is what's that like. I'll see you some other time. Good night.